Going back to March, this was the state of our yard at the time. As you can see, lots of empty pots, brown grass, and the very first signs of spring starting to emerge. I started by prepping the dirt, loosening up the hard-packed soil, and making room to add new soil. Since this pot doesn't have a drainage hole, I'm adding river rocks and landscaping fabric to create an air gap for the water to collect. I've never tried this before, but I'm hoping it will prevent root rot. So it's been a few weeks since we got everything planted, and so far everything seems to have established pretty well. Some of the plants have gotten fuller and started filling out their pots. A few others have gone through several cycles of blooms, and a couple others are just going through their first cycle of bloom. So I'm excited to see how those turn out. Because it's still spring, we've actually had quite a bit of rain over the last few weeks, which can be good and bad when you have new plants. When you have a new plant, you want to make sure it stays moist. You don't want it to dry out because its roots haven't extended very far yet. But on the flip side, heavy rainstorms can cause a lot of damage to the stems and flowers, which, early spring is not a big deal. Things will perk back up and grow back. But some of the plants are more drought tolerant plants, and so you risk overwatering them in the springtime. I think this next week we're supposed to have a stretch of no rain, so I think it'll be really nice for some of the plants, and I'm hoping I can get some of them to recover a bit in the time before we get any more heavy rainstorms. As far as other new additions to the backyard, we have some new furniture, as well as several more plants that we need to find spots for. So without further ado, let me go ahead and give you guys a tour of the backyard as it stands. Again, this is a work in progress. We've got a lot more we can do to it, but let me go ahead and show you guys around. Okay, so over in this corner, I have all of my plants that are not full sun. They are either part sun or they like the sun, but they can do with a little bit of shade. Over here, we've got some dianthus, as well as some of the Dorothianthus meso. This dianthus is going through its second bloom. This one is about to go through its second bloom. As you can see, all the little buds are starting to pop up again. And then over here, we have my barrel with coleus in the back, some floss flowers framing that, the polka dot plants, as well as a potato vine, and the globe amaranth in the middle. This pot has been doing really well. As you can see, the coleus has spread out quite a bit. The things that aren't doing as well, the globe amaranth is very short. I expected it to get a little taller. So I'm hoping maybe that this potato vine, once it bears a little bit of weight, will start to droop down a bit so that the globe amaranth can get enough sunlight. All these plants really like moist soil, so that's why I paired them together. And right next to it, I have another coleus. I actually turned it around so that the leaves could start growing towards the sun in this direction because it was kind of getting a bit lopsided. Let me spin it so you can see. As you can see from this angle, it's extended quite a bit this direction. So I'm hoping by spinning it around, it'll start extending in the other direction as well. But it's doing really well too. It's filled out quite a bit and it's looking very vibrant. The blue and the green and the kind of pinky red just really pop. Now over here, we've got my lamb's ear, which has so many more leaves than when it was first planted. But as you can see, there are a lot of holes in these leaves. I discovered a little while ago there was a caterpillar on here, but it seems to be growing fine. It doesn't seem to be suffering from root rot or anything like that. This one likes really dry soil, so that's why it's under the awning over here to avoid the rain, and that way I can control how much water it gets. And then we've got some sun patience over here. These are the ones that my parents bought and planted. We've got this big pot with daisies in it. I'll need to check to see if we need to deadhead it so that it can bloom again. My little pot of sedum, I planted this 3 or 4 years ago and it's come back every year, but unfortunately this year I forgot to water it. So it's coming back a lot later and I don't know if it's going to completely fill out. We actually have another pot of it that was left out in a better spot, so it got some rain and so it's filled out quite a bit. So this is what it should look like, but hopefully that other one will fill in. If not, I will fill it in with something else along the side. And then over in this corner, some coleus in the back here, some globe amaranth against the shed, and then this kind of wave flower, I think is what it's called. My purslane in this hanging planter on a shepherd's hook. And then my favorite part of this corner is actually this big planter of violas, and they are just looking so good. The highs are about 80 right now at most, so I'm hoping once it gets a little warmer in the summer they don't just completely wilt. But for now in the spring, it's gorgeous. They look so good. And then my mom and I decided to try yarrow, which we've never tried before. Mine is a purple variety and hers is going to be, I think, a pink variety, but hers hasn't started blooming just yet. And then we've got these 3 big barrels back here. Some dianthus that is coming back. This middle barrel has rose moss that comes back each year. Obviously there's a bunch of clover in here right now, but once it starts to really heat up, the rose moss will thrive. So over in this corner of the yard, we've got my turtle that we need to plant something in. Floss flower on the back here. We've got this other planter, which I think we're actually going to put the petunias under the table that came back this year. We're going to put those in that bucket. Some dianthus, sedum, and then back here we have some peonies. So they're not blooming right now, but I do have some footage of a bloom that came out a couple weeks ago, so I can insert that here. And then these down here are just some more plants that we'll need to find a spot for, as well as over here. We do have spots for these though. The dianthus will go near the shed with the other dianthus, and hydrangeas. We have a couple hydrangeas on the side of the yard, so I think we're going to put that new hydrangea in the middle there. And then here we've got our new furniture for the deck. We have these 2 chairs. And then we've got a bunch of other summer flowers that are starting to come in on the side yard here. As I continue to make improvements to the backyard, I will keep you guys updated. If you stuck it out to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.